and welcome to The Decision Makers, the show where we dig into what it takes to run in town. This week, I'm sitting down with Councillor Lisa Pottinger. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
And this is the first time we've had a chance to talk.
Yes.
So the first thing we want to get into is, what is your background? Where is your point of view coming from?
Well, I was born and raised in Neepawa. I moved away for 1 year and saw the error of my ways and came back. My family hails from here. My husband's family is from Gladstone. But we go back generations here in Neepawa. We raised our kids here. And sadly, they've moved away. But born and raised, and this is the heart of what we call home. I went to Brookdale School because I lived out that direction, but Neepawa was our home. And then we ran a business here in Neepawa for 18 and a half years, Thomas Window and Glass. And I have always known that you have to give back to the community that gives so much to you. So my first go on council was while we had the business. And now knowing that I had a little more I want to say a little more free time, but it's not necessarily the case. But a little more of my evenings and weekends with having no kids at home anymore and no business to run. I felt it was important again to give back again to the community and such an exciting time to be in the community.
It really, really
so
is.
So much growth going on, and having lived here for just about 50 years, just seeing the change in the last 10 made it a really exciting time to jump back in to get involved again.
Yeah. I know for me, 10 years ago is when I moved back, 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
So right on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
That growth spurt there. So that is, we just mentioned that you have been on council before. Now, I've talked to new council members and I've talked to continuing council members.
Yeah.
It's the first time talking to a council member who was on council, left and came back.
Right.
So when was your first stint on council?
I was on council from 2010 to 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you're on again.
Yeah.
What is sort of different now in the town?
Wow, so much, and yet so very the same, right? Because we're still Neepawa, right? We socially we make decisions last minute, and we don't fill halls like we should, and that sort of thing.
Neepawa.
Yeah, we will never change that way. I think in my first time on council, we were experiencing a real growth, but only in population and not in infrastructure. So we were seeing a real stretch of the tax dollars and of the services, because there were so many people who had yet to contribute to the tax base, but still using the services that, the school, the hospital,
Right.
that sort of thing. And at that time, we would talk about, the growing pains of having this growth in our community that's been so good. And now, 13 years later, seeing the things that have come to fruition that we knew needed to, a hospital and two schools, those are things I couldn't have even imagined. Back in 2010, talking about a new hospital, it just seemed like, well, that's nice.
Maybe
but
in 20, 30 years.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It didn't feel like something that I would ever see or get the advantage of. And now, to see those things coming to be. So it's an exciting time. And the other thing that I notice quite different is that when I left council in 2014, we were just on the cusp of amalgamation. And so
Right, yes.
it was just as it was coming into being. So to see the changes that have happened inter-council, between different councils, to go to the conventions and to have 800 delegates instead of 1,200, and just the things that have changed on that level. There's been a significant amount of improvement, I think, in the delivery from the province to the municipalities, as far as backing the municipalities for codes of conduct and giving them the tools they need to run their councils effectively. There were a lot of people who were really unhappy about amalgamation.
I was just going to say, amalgamation was a very controversial
yes,
time, and that I'd sort of forgotten that was exactly that time.
Right. So some of the benefits that have come out of it I've been able to see because I wasn't around for the time when it all
Yeah.
had to come crashing in and figure that stuff out. So I'm glad to see the aftermath has had some good parts to it.
There are still, I cover a lot of the other council as well. There's still a
Yes.
few things, little rough edges there. They're
Yes.
still sorting out.
Yeah.
Because there were conversations, this probably happened during your time on the council originally, that they were talking possibly that Langford and Neepawa, rather than North Cyprus,
Yeah.
were going to be the ones
Yeah.
amalgamated.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yes, and to see how that has turned out, you know,
Yeah.
and like for like, a rural municipality, you know, would be a better fit with a rural municipality. That makes sense. We've seen some of the challenges for communities that, you know, just under the 3,000 threshold, amalgamating with a rural municipality and the struggles they're still having. So I guess we'll never know. We don't have a crystal ball to know what the right decision was, but that's the decision that's been made, and that's the path we've gone down. Neepawa, with their growth, I'm not sure that we could have done justice to a partnership
I
now
think
in
there would have
hindsight.
been different priorities, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I agree.
there. Now, coming back onto council this time, was it sort of purely, I have the time now to put into this, or were there a lot of changes that you felt we were going in a positive direction you wanted to be a part of?
Very much wanted to
Okay.
be a part of this because the decision-making process in my first go was a little bit more challenging. I didn't feel that there was a trust on council, pulling in one direction, where after you leave council, you don't quickly stop following what's going on.
No.
So to watch the last 4 years and to see how this group of people, you know, were working together constructively, and as well the staff, that they've got a real good team that doesn't seem to want to take pot shots, doesn't seem to want to, you know, undercut anybody. They just want to get the best job done. And I hoped in running that would, you know, that would still be the case if I got there, and I'm lucky that it is.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say, that's what you're feeling now?
Yes, yes.
Certainly, I've heard nothing but especially from councillors, glowing reviews of the staff that they're working
Yes.
with in the town.
Yes.
That we're quite lucky to have the people that we do, because while council makes the decisions, you're not as much hands-on in the running of the
No.
town. It's very much
No.
a decision-making
Yes.
level.
And we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't believe that the councillors should be, quote, in the kitchen. And I said that when I ran, that I think we set policy, we set high-level expectation, and then let the staff do what they do well. I don't know how to fix a street. I don't know how to, you know, design a boulevard, how to make a budget. I don't know any of those things. And the people who do get paid well to do it.
Yeah.
So let them do well what they do and stay out of the way. It's sort of how I feel about it. And I think it works. I don't know. You'll have to ask them.
If I can coax them in here,
Yeah.
I would love to. So what are some of the things that have sort of come before you? And I know it hasn't been long since the election. It's been just, 6 months now you've been
October. So
there?
yeah.
Approximately, that have sort of come before you that have been sort of significant issues?
I think this council so far has been a little bit coasting on the good work done by the previous council. They had some really good things put in place and underway when we came in.
Yeah.
So it's been a really, I don't want to say an easy transition, but it did very much feel like, here, just catch up because we're going in the right direction.
There was stuff in progress already.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so there were steps already taken in a good direction, and we just had to follow up on that. There are things, you know, coming. There's decisions to be made, you know, regarding a school and that sort of thing.
Which is a brand new kind of thing.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah.
So those things will have to be, you know, not battled out, but
Negotiated.
Yes, figured out, I guess.
Yeah.
And we've set our first budget. I'm excited about that. As much as people are probably really tired of hearing, you know, it's a frugal budget. We have to be careful, you know, in the hospital and all of that. But I think it's a unique good possibility that oh, we have to live with some potholes for a while because we're going to have a new hospital, or we're going to have, you know, these services. So,
and I think we're in a phase right now, maybe you can agree or disagree with this, where we're in kind of this long-term planning phase. As fast as these things are happening, we have been fast-tracked for schools and hospital.
Right.
Much more than probably a lot of other places have seen.
Right.
It's still years. It's years of planning.
You're right. You're right. And I guess that's where council needs to be always forward looking, and not just, you know, 1 or 2 years, but 15 to 20 years out. You know, if this is put in this location, then what does it need as support? Or what is the thinking behind developing in a certain direction? And those things are...
It's not sexy talking about the wastewater.
No,
but it's very important.
Exactly. Yeah, if you have nowhere to put the waste, then you can't put another house. So,
exactly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So now, coming on to council, one of the first things that happens is you are assigned to your committees, whether you're heading up the committee or you're just participating in.
Yeah.
So what are you sort of in charge of or a part of?
Well, I'm the chair of the Emergency Services, I won't get that name right, committee that takes care of COPP, RCMP, fire, those sorts of things, our emergency measures compliance. So I'm the chair of that one. I'm the member on the Finance Committee with Councillor Girard, and on the Recreation Economic Development Portfolio Councillor, along with Councillor Cicely, who heads that up. So those have been really really interesting. I haven't done much yet with the emergency services. I also sit on NADCO, which has been interesting to get involved with the Community Clinic Committee. Sort of by accident. I was kind of rooked into a meeting one day that I didn't realize what it was, but just to see the work that goes into the clinic lotto. And
that's the major fundraiser.
That's
for
right.
clinic,
and this year they raised $125,000, and that's per year if we continue that work, and that's
needed. I mean, our
very
clinic,
much so.
as much as anything in the town, is growing.
Right, because a new hospital needs more doctors, and more doctors need somewhere to practice. So,
and then new hospital brings in more people, and more people need more doctors, and this is a snowball going on.
It's
right
it's
now.
a fantastic snowball, but you're right.
It's a snowball going downhill right now. So we're kind of
yes, sometimes getting caught up in the momentum, and other times having to put up, roadblocks. Hold on, let's look at this a little bit harder. There's been we had a clinic committee one morning. Meeting one morning that we went over and toured the clinic. And for anybody who's never been in the downstairs and seen, the apartments that are...
People.
Well, I hadn't been down. And so the apartments down there, and living quarters and meeting space. And it was really interesting to see the growth that's happened just within those walls as they exist. So.
And there's probably people watching right now who are just learning there is a downstairs.
Yes.
So,
I'm sure. Yeah. So just getting... up to speed with that committee to know, what, and again, like we talked about forward looking, what does another 8 doctors look like within those walls? Is it going to fit in there? Is it, where are we going to put extra people and extra patients and records and all the rest? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And you and I have been here since childhood, so we know what it used to look like there.
That's right.
It's already twice the size that it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you mentioned the Recreation Committee as well. Speaking of long-term plannings, that we have in the last year or two kind of been working on a recreation plan, especially for down at Riverbend Park and also with the Yellowhead.
Yes.
So kind of what's your involvement been there? What's your thoughts on those?
Well, the Yellowhead, they're doing... I won't get the right term.
I can't remember the term either, but they're doing
a
sort
study,
of a study of their functional kind of...
functional plan there, just to see, efficiencies that they can find, that sort of thing. So we're still waiting on that report to be released. So anxious to see what that has to say, because that's a major backbone in our community, a great asset. And we have to make sure that we have, something in place to continue that on.
It's an old building. We need to keep an eye on making sure it's still, because if we lose that arena, and that ice surface is book solid. So
and our hall,
and
same thing.
absolutely.
Like what would Nipawin be without our our great big facility down there. So yes, we need to take a hard look at that. The planning for the pool area, I wasn't part of the planning.
Yeah.
I have
One of those
seen,
things that was in progress
yes,
as you got there.
yes, and
Yeah.
it looks like good progress, and
Yeah.
we get an update, every time we have a meeting from Denis, and he lets us know where things are at with this and that, and the slide, and those sorts of things coming.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how that unfolds over the next couple of summers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the water slide is kind of, the pieces are there, is kind of what I
Right.
understand. Is,
Yeah.
is where we're at with that.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I understand too. So.
and then and next week is May, so we're kind of headed into summer here.
Yes,
So
yes, right away.
there's certain things you can do while the pool's operational, and certain things you can't.
Right. And if I understand right, the slide has to be ready before the pool can open.
Yeah.
So we'll wait. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, drive by, see how they're doing, give them a wave.
Honk and
Give a
wave,
thumbs
yeah,
up.
Yeah. Bring them a sandwich, maybe.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other committee that you were talking about was finance.
Right.
Now, has that kind of been a learning curve for you, jumping on finance there and figuring out how that's working?
Actually, no. I was the chair of the finance my first term.
Okay.
And had a lot to do with that. And so when you come in and you're asked to, review this whole ledger of checks that are written, and I remember the first time going through and thinking, what are coolers? Why are we buying coolers? And what, asking all these questions. Why on earth would we buy that? And Jamie Davey, to her credit, very patiently answers every question I ask. But this time I knew what all the terms and the codes and that sort of thing. So very much just keeping an overview of money in, money out, and it's not very labor intensive. Councillor Gerard has to go in and sign checks, of course, and I'm on standby, but he's pretty faithful and reliable to be there. So
except for when he goes away on these
right,
grand
yes.
vacations.
Yeah.
So coming on now, did you have any sort of passion projects that you wanted to get involved with on in the town? Did you come with any ideas that you wanted to get going, or were you just kind of happy to jump in on what we were already doing?
Yeah, I don't have any specific wants or a list. I think tourism is an under appreciated stream in our town. I think we need lots of good ideas and lots of people to get behind even small activities, all kinds of things going on, but people need to attend them. So
very true.
Yes, I take a keen interest in garbage and recycling. I know that sounds odd, but I'm currently reading a book, The History of Garbage.
Okay.
And it's quite interesting, actually. But yeah, garbage and recycling have always been I don't want to say an interest, but something that really frustrates me. At a local level and a municipal level and a world level, we have to start using less and reusing more. But I didn't come onto council with those things in mind, but I do. My ears perk up when they start to talk about initiatives for biogasification.
That said, we have the Environmental and Volunteerism Committee. I don't remember the exact title of it.
Right.
Coming forward,
Right.
so I think the council is going in
Yes,
that direction.
yes, I'm anxious
Absolutely.
to hear more about that. Councillor Nadeau is tight-lipped about what he's got going on there, but
they say it's just about ready to announce.
Yes,
I've been waiting for that too.
Me too. Yeah. So we'll see what that has, but I think there's some great initiatives that can. Be followed through, and we just need to watch.
And as we grow, I think more opportunities are going to present themselves.
I hope so.
As these things happen.
Yeah.
Sort of what's your vision for 5, 10, 20 years down the road for Nipoa?
That's really hard to say, because the buzzwords, growth and potential and that sort of thing. Right now, it's really hard to see where we'll be in 5 to 10 years. But I think we need to be steady. We need to be deliberate. We need to be nimble to be able to change.
Yep.
When you think about, the timeline we have to have the training center open for the nurses course that's coming, that just indicates, the glacial speed at which government can work sometimes. You think that, we could never possibly get it done in time. But so far, it's, people will say to me, what are they doing at the old RCMP? There's dumpsters and there's, all kinds of things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we need to, always be forward looking, but with an eye to the past, because we've got some fantastic architecture and some great history here in Nipawin that we also need to maintain.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say where we'll end up, but for right now, it's growth.
and we have that beautiful Main Street that I think we've been talking about, making it a more walkable area, walkable downtown. So
that would be nice. Yeah.
Especially as as your population grows, you get more of a downtown concentration. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we see more apartment buildings coming up closer to downtown, where people will be able to walk, you see the the Kinsman Court 2 building, with people out and about and being able to sit outside there, and the Yellowhead Manor, you see the benches out front, and I think that's what people want, is a welcoming, walkable, service-friendly downtown community, because you see these big cities that then go the other way, and everything goes.
And we've seen a little bit of that here as the bigger businesses go to the highway.
Right.
But I think that creates opportunities for smaller ones then
and I think
to come in.
Other communities see that as a negative, as the large, you grow on the outskirts and then your downtown becomes barren. But I think because of the growth in population that we're seeing, I think that the mom and pop shops and the unique things will populate our downtown, because usually when you see the growth go to the edges, you're still dealing with the same number of people, and I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're as our town grows to the edges, it's just growing outward. I don't think it's going to affect our downtown as badly as some communities might. And
we've started to see those niche businesses kind of start to pop up in town.
Yes.
I love to bring up the toy store as an example.
Yes.
That we are able to sustain something like that at this point.
Yes.
And I know there's been a couple of other real estate sales downtown recently that these storefronts are definitely not going to stay empty. So
that's wonderful, because there was a time 10 years ago when you would have heard of one storefront coming empty and we would have wrung our hands and what's going to possibly come.
Yeah.
But now I think it's a bit of a scramble to find somewhere to open a business.
Well, that's just it. I've had people asking me, do you know of anything available? Do you know about this? And I'm like, I know I seem like I should know things. I don't.
I ask a lot of questions, but I don't know things.
I know who to ask, but I do not have this answer for you.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. And as I've mentioned, and you may have seen me bring this up before, 7,500 is a magic number where you can potentially become a city. Do you think that's in our future? I mean, not the number, but the city designation.
Right. I wish I had a really good answer. I don't know what that would. I would have to.
There's a few other. One of the things, and I have to kind of look at myself, is you have to have a paid fire department. You have to have a professional fire department.
Okay.
And that's a big deal. But
that would
we've
be.
seen
Right.
places like Morden and Winkler down there.
Yeah.
Kind of past this hurdle. So.
Right. Yeah. It would be an interesting. I thought the number was further away than that. I thought it was like 12,000 or something.
7,500 is the minimum.
Interesting.
Which I think we're going to hit within possibly the next census. I
mean, that would seem very possible. I only just learned the other day the difference, that there is a difference between municipality and rural municipality for that sort of thing. So what the difference would be for town versus city, I would have to take a look.
There's difference. And for an example, locally, it's a rural municipality of Rosedale, municipality of Northside with Langford.
Right.
Not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I had to learn that too because I got it wrong.
Yeah. Well, and to me, they're all
learn, right?
RM of, and they're not necessarily.
They're not.
So, no, that's. I don't have an answer for you for that. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I like to get people's visions of. Do you see this maybe on the horizon that this could?
I'd love to believe we stay the my hometown of Nipawin. It'll always be that way in my heart. But like you would know, it's
we're not going to be a Brandon. We're not going to be a Winnipeg for sure. We're not even going to be a Portage. We're just,
Yeah. So the sentimental part of me wants it to stay the town of Nipawin. We'll see that with growth comes all kinds of opportunities. So we'll see cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess.
And we're actually starting to run short of time, believe it or not. It comes more quickly than you think it will.
It really does, yeah.
Any last thoughts you want to leave people with?
I don't think so. I appreciate that people have concerns and that they want to sometimes vent. their frustrations. We do hear every once in a while from the town staff that there is, some upset people in the office with some very vocal opinions. They go in and take it out on our staff, which is unfortunate because they don't make the decisions. They just implement the rules. So, I'd love to say my door is always open, but you won't find me. I don't work in town anymore.
Yeah.
So people are more than welcome to get a hold of myself or any of the councillors that have something that is beyond the staff's control, because a lot of it is, most of it is, in fact.
Yeah.
But they do bear the brunt of people's frustrations. So feel free to reach out to a councillor or to the mayor and not take it out on our staff if that's a
Please.
possibility. Yes, please. Yeah, 'cause they're good people and they're just trying to do their best. So
And if people are coming forward with, their ideas, their best intentions in mind, what's the best way for them to get involved in the town?
Attend a meeting, come to a budget presentation, come to an open house, call somebody, attend the office, come to the office and say, hey, I'm really interested in library or green space, or because there are often ad hoc committees that are struck for a certain task, or something that gets put on to maybe a councillor and a staff member to take on, where if we had more volunteers, and you don't have to volunteer and come an hour a week for the rest of your life. Maybe it's one specific thing, maybe it's a cleanup, maybe it's
find your own passion project and get involved.
Exactly. It's your town. It's everybody's. It's not going to be our town if we don't make it our town. So we have to embrace it and get involved.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for joining us. We will see you again next time.